At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about what you've done with those accomplishments. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. Denzel Washington. Welcome to Inspire Vision. Our sole purpose is to elevate the lives of others and to inspire you to do the same.
Dr. G, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I love how you like to go by Dr. G. I go by Dr. Doug. No one can pronounce my last name, so it's fun to meet someone else that does the same thing. So, hey, you're in Thailand.
I am. I'm in a city called Pattaya. I live in Chiang Mai, which is quite a ways away from here, but I'm in Pattaya because there's a special doc over here that's fixing up my legs after the car accident.
Ah, okay. Well, what I'd love for you to do, this is going to be a fascinating discussion. I'd love for you to share with the audience who you are, how you came to this point, and kind of that life history of all of your experiences and your learning and so forth that kind of has brought you to the point of where you're at now and what you're doing with the company. And then we'll get into the other aspects in a minute.
Okay, well, I'll try to. There's a lot there because I'm an older man. So I got a 51 years of over 51 years now of training. First and foremost, so when I was already 3 years old, I already understood my mission, why I was here, what I needed to do, which was serving the public and helping save the planet. So that I knew right off the bat. But then it took quite a curve because at the age of 6, when they put me into grade 1, I failed. I wouldn't participate. So my family couldn't emotionally handle that. My dad was from the old country, from Poland. So they emotionally abandoned me at the age of 6. So I went off from that moment, I went off into my own world kind of thing because I was humiliated at school. I wasn't seen at home, and then I went off on my path. So my path led me to become a man and to prove myself and so forth. I became a professional martial artist, and I became a world-class I would be in the top 1 to 3% of martial artists anywhere in the Western Hemisphere.
Wow.
And I carry 3 samurai lineages on my shoulders now. I've been training over 46 years. And this isn't commercial martial art. I'm talking old samurai culture. So I put in over 50,000 hours in Yoshinkai Aikido. I served Great Master as an Uchideshi for 8 years. And Uchideshi means I'm the personal protege to that man. And you could think of it as a sort of like a butler and a general's aide. And then I got to be one of the top in the class, of course, and all that stuff. So it was a very heavy discipline, and it was like a Zen life. But then I broke my back in half when I was 27 weightlifting. And I healed my back with meditation, no operations or anything, but I broke L5 in half, both pedicles right in half. So while I was having these kinds of injuries and learning how to heal, I was meeting some of the greatest doctors in the world, primarily George Goodhart Jr., the founder of Applied Kinesiology. And he's the guy that fixed my back with his 2 assistant doctors, Lou Boven and Alan Zatkin, both geniuses. And so I was always learning and studying about healing because I was always having to heal. I have many injuries. So so that process was always going on. Great doctors, being mentored, learning about healing and my martial craft. And I study I always apprentice under great masters. So time goes by and I built the Dosatsu Ken Dojo in California. I left Canada after I graduated. I went back to school. After I broke my back, I went back to school. I got my first degree is in an honors degree in Canada. in exercise physiology, and that was my first degree. Then I left and I went off grid. Moved to California, went off grid, and I lived there for 11 years, and I built the Dosatsu Ken Dojo. And there I trained United States Special Forces, SWAT, all branches of the military. I helped to rehabilitate battered women and Alcoholics Anonymous. I worked with NASA scientists, stuff like that, for a number of years. And then suddenly the landlord who owned the dojo, we built this big giant, we refurbished a factory. So dojo was very huge, and I lived in the dojo. It was a formal old style Japanese dojo. So the landlord has a heart attack and dies. His son wants the dojo for a .com company. So he broke the lease illegally, and I lost all my work, all my students, and all my status in California overnight. And I was homeless. Wow. And a nice old man named Stu Hoffer took me in and gave me a place to live. He was a wonderful man. We became very close friends. And there was a lawsuit. My friends, because I had no money, I lived on donations only, and slept on the floor in my dojo for 5 years. So they knew some lawyer. We won the case. It took 2 years. And when I got the money, I went off to become a doctor. So I eventually graduated as a doc in 2006 out of Texas in Houston. And during that time when I was there, I got married to a Texan, and then we moved to Georgia. And later on, I wished I would have moved to Tennessee, because I was a senior staff doctor in 2014 in Tennessee, and I just love Tennessee. Wonderful people. So I was in Georgia and never had any business success whatsoever. Didn't make any difference what I knew or what. I always apprenticed under great master doctors. I don't pay any attention to academic education at all. And I've always been really lucky that way. I study under really great master doctors. So when I moved to Georgia, I met one of the greatest of them all, Dr. Larry Habursky. And Larry is in a class by himself. And he's amongst many other entire systems. He's a tremendous master of bioenergetic synchronization technique and the subconscious mind. So for the first time, so I'm in my 40s, and the first time in my life, I start disassembling, with his help, all of the cognitive dissonance in my subconscious mind that always kept me in poverty, irregardless of what I knew or how hard I worked, what my titles were. I could never make a dime. That's what broke my marriage, destroyed the marriage. No money. I could never make any money. So he started to disassemble 27 years of lack consciousness. And during my years over there in Atlanta, Georgia, I also studied Reiki for 3 years under Kaya Aman, became his Tibetan Reiki. And it's real Reiki. It's not the weekend version, this is the real deal.
Right.
So I won't have anything to do or associate with anything that's superficial or garbage. It's got to be legitimate and the real thing. So I was learning for 8 years under Larry Habursky, and he taught me all the basis of the subconscious mind, frequencies, so many things, all about the quantum field. And one of the most important skills he helped me to master was self-kinesiology, so I can talk to the field. I can talk to the subconscious, to your nervous system. I can talk to your cells. I can go all the way back to your conception, and I can do it with surgical precision. It took many, many years, at least a decade, to get to the point where I can do that with that kind of accuracy. Because you have to remove entanglements. If you don't know how to remove entanglements, you will not get accurate information. And when people's lives and their health are in your hands, you got to have accurate information because they're counting on you. So that was that kind of a process. And then I also am a mystic. I am not a mystic. Mystic is a very high level, but I am a student of oneness, and I was receiving hundreds, even thousands of Diksha every year. And in 2014, at Dr. Rossi McClellan's home, she was a host of what is known as a Sacred Chambers process. The Divine rewrote my program. And within a few months, I found myself moving to Thailand, which I had never, ever dreamed of or planned. And I left Tammy, left everything, moved to Thailand. And that's been a whole, as soon as I got out of America, I formed my wealth consciousness because I was away from Tammy. So I'm not in a divided household. I don't have to try to maintain a certain frame of perception against someone else's perception. And everything, I live like an angelic life now. I live like a veritable king. I have clients all over the entire world. Now, how did I become a depth healer? How did depth healing ever come around? So I was a licensed chiropractor. I knew many different skills, but I was licensed and certified in network chiropractic, which was developed by Donald Epstein. And I apprenticed under Jeff Britton for about 9 years, one of the finest network doctors in the world. He's in Houston, Texas. So one day I had like a prayer room, meditation room at the house. Tammy was a physical therapist, so she was at work, and the phone rings, and it's a man and his wife from New York. How they found me, no idea, because I have no advertising, no nothing. And he had come down with MS 2 years into it, and his wife was dying of stage 4 metastasized cancer all over her body. And I said to him, folks, I'm in Beaufort, Georgia, and you're in New York. How am I supposed to help you, right? What could I possibly? And a voice came. I heard it right in my head. No, you can heal them from here. So I followed that, and because I knew how to transfer energy from my other skills. And I talked to Dr. Habersky. I said, can I actually do this? He said, yeah, absolutely. So I just set about doing it. And I was able to stop the MS, no problem at all. But his wife, her oncologist told her I was a quack. So she quit about 1 month in, and then she died within 1 month. But that's how depth healing was born. And then so I'm a channel. I want all the public to know that I don't have any kind of power or some kind of, there's nothing like that. This is strictly a relay station. I'm strictly a channel, and I use frequencies. Depth healing is based on frequency transmission. There's a frequency of sound, and the carrier wave is color. And I have empowerments through India, and I have empowerments through Tibet that allow me to use the destructive and constructive interference waves that allow me to do what I need to do. And I have about a 97, 98% success rate. Doesn't really matter what the subject is, because I'm working at the causal level. I'm not working at the molecular level. Okay, go ahead, Don.
Let's talk about you used a lot of words, and I want the audience to kind of understand some of those
Yeah,
because obviously you understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I'm sure a lot of people are trying to figure out when you talk about cognitive dissonance.
yeah.
And so many people think about subconscious imprints and limiting beliefs and all of those. I love the word consonance dissonance. Can you explain what cognitive dissonance is and how does that come about?
Okay, that's a great question because that's a fundamental problem for humanity, everybody and anybody. So you first is you understand, folks. Subconscious mind has the power of 1 million, and the conscious brain, the frontal cortex, I call the educated brain, has the power of 1. What does that mean? The frontal cortex processes 40 bits of information a second, 40. The subconscious processes 40 million bits of information per second, 24/7. Now, the way we're designed, the way a human being is designed, we have to have a lot of data, a lot of software in order for us to survive and be able to operate in the world. So what happens is once you're conceived and you're in the womb, the subconscious mind starts recording. It records literally everything and anything it experiences, hears, sees, feels, but with the detail of 40 million bits of information per second. Now, so it's recording everything. There's no thinking involved. Then it goes through the birthing process. Then the first 6 hours. That's what I refer to as program number 3. And program number 4 starts from the end of those first 6 hours, which are very critical, to the end of the age of 6. That's the 4th program. Subconscious mind is still just recording. Conscious brain is not active. It activates in program 5. It starts to operate because it's got enough neurologic development and now it has enough software. But everything it wants to do, it references through the database. What that does is that gives us our perception. And then the perception gives us our vibration. Our vibration through the law of resonance brings us our life, It gives us our life, our experiences, everything you have comes through the law of resonance. Through your perception, which is dominated by the subconscious.
Right.
Now, cognitive dissonance means, let's say you want to be an entrepreneur. You've done all kinds of seminars. You have a very fine academic education. You have all of the business plan. It all looks beautiful. And you go ahead and you start. You're all revved up. And within 2-3 months, half a year, it dies. So you reboot, you restart, you go after it again, dies again. Why? Somewhere in the subconscious, there's an imprint, as the doc said, or a belief that was downloaded that says you can't do that. It has the power of 1 million, and the PhD and all of the seminars and everything has the power of 1. Frontal cortex is only operating 5% of the day, maximum. With a lot of people, it doesn't operate at all. So its subconscious is ruling. So the way you find cognitive dissonance, like Bruce Lipton will say, when you want to do something and for some reason it never works, or you just can't, or it dies, or you start like a New Year's resolution and then you just stop. That's cognitive dissonance. And what I do with depth healing is I disintegrate that. I'll find it, I disintegrate it, and it's gone. When it's gone, nothing's there to stop you. Your
Wow.
brain will reorganize. That changes your perception. Perception changes your vibration, and then you have success. I'm the living proof of that in an extreme case because I used to be absolutely dirt poor for like 30 years. Sorry about this. I don't know why I have this cough.
So as you say, you help to disintegrate those cognitive dissonance areas, and obviously we have a huge amount as you talk
Oh,
about. What what is the process that you use? And before we get into that, because I know you're going to start talking about frequencies and all of those types of things. So let's talk a little bit about the quantum field. Let's talk a little bit about the frequencies that exist in the quantum field. And for people that are just saying, no, that's a bunch of woo-woo, that doesn't really exist. We know
yeah.
that science is now starting to prove that it exists. But could you explain to the audience in some terms that understand the quantum field and the frequencies and how they affect us and how you utilize those in your process of helping people to get healed, whether it's from emotions or whether it's physical or whatever it happens to be?
Okay. A very good question. So, as the doc said, science has long since actually proven that everything is energy, and energy has a frequency, it has a vibration. A real good way to understand this, folks, is you take a piece of paper and you take real fine sand or iron filings, anything that's little particles,
Right.
and underneath the paper, you play music. You have sound, and you can watch the sand. It will form patterns, and some sounds will make a beautiful, coherent pattern, like a really beautiful, like an artist, and others will make the sand look completely incoherent, looks like cancer, just a mess. And it's because of the frequency, the vibration. So the sand is your body, your cells. You're made out of about 50 trillion cells. Nassim Haramein, the physicist, says 100 trillion. Bruce Lipton says 50 trillion. I don't know where the 50 trillion that's missing. I don't know how they get how they derive that. But in any case, there's a hell of a lot of cells. And the field, the energy field, organizes the matter. It's as Einstein said, the field is the sole governing governor of the material living world. Okay? So if that helps you understand that, everything is, all there is fields. I call it morphic fields. And the stronger the field, the strongest field dominates. So let's talk about a family. Why does everybody love to gather around mom? Now, this is verified in the research from the Heart Math Institute under Roland McCready and Dr. Sarah Children. Mom's heart is the strongest, most coherent, based in love. Love is the strongest frequency. So an average electromagnetic field from a heart is 4 to 6 feet in diameter. When their heart is really coherent and filled with a lot of love, it can measure up to 40 feet in diameter. So mom is always, or hopefully always, filled with love for the kids and the family. So she's the central organizing field for everything. Dad's energy is generally will be stronger with the brain. Brain's way weaker than the heart is, but he's the one that generally will be making order and figuring out things and stuff like that. But the organizing central attractor field in a family that's a healthy family will be mom. And if mom's really upset or really depressed, you'll see that family has it's got a lot of trouble, because that organizing, loving principle isn't there anymore. So I hope I'm making some sense there.
Well, you are, and as you talk about the different, you talk about the heart and the frequencies and so forth. I know that there's been a number of different groups, I would say, individuals or groups that have sought to identify the different frequencies out there. And in many cases have said, all right, so this is the frequency that helps this and that and so forth. I'm not real familiar with heart math, a little bit. I'm very familiar with solfeggio frequencies. So, are there specific frequencies that you can tap into that are going to deal with very specific issues in the body? Or how does that work?
Okay, so I'll give you a case study, and I have her permission to use her name, Donna Miller. She had non-responsive Lyme's disease, very, very harsh, for 30 years when she found me. And I removed the Lyme's disease rather easily. And first of all, as I was saying to you earlier, Doc, I work on a causal level. So if a disease comes, or you have pain, you have cancer, you have something, there's a reason that it developed. So I look for the reason and I remove it. That's number one. Then number two, Lyme's disease, if you think of a little virus like that, it's not very big. It has its own frequency. So I match the frequency. I have like a proprietary list of frequency. I find the frequency that is destructive to the Lyme's, and I keep hitting it. I disassemble how strong it is. In her body. I disassemble its intensity. Then I work to disintegrate it. And I've done it with a great many things. She has no Lyme's and never has. That was years ago now. So that's how you find this. You have to find the frequency. If you're going to remove something, you have to find the destructive interference wave, the frequency. And when you want to build something, you use a constructive interference wave. And how do I find that? I was
going to ask, how do you find those frequencies?
Through the client. It's all specific to the client, its consciousness, or their consciousness, their nervous system, or their body's innate intelligence tells me. I don't select anything by myself. So I have them ask a question. When they ask the question, so the question very specific, that opens their files in their subconscious database. When they open the file, I can find it. When I find it, I go through the frequencies till I find the match, and then I apply that frequency.
Now, it does. But how do you apply a frequency when I'm sitting here in Utah and you're sitting there in Thailand?
It's really easy, because there's we're already completely entangled right away. Even if you were on Pluto, it doesn't make any difference. And the physics has been peer reviewed and accepted on that, written by Nassim Harmi. He's the founder of the Resonance Academy. So if you're ever interested in seeing the physics, I can't actually understand the math. I just do it in real time. So what I do is, when I referred to you earlier, I have empowerment through Tibet. That gives me the ability for the destructive interference waves. And the constructive interference wave, I have empowerment through India. And then I just connect to the person, and I'm going to speak the frequency, and there is in the form of a word. I'm going to send it. I find out which chakra is which chakra needs that frequency, because they're all dealing with different levels.
Right.
The chakra gives me the color carrier wave, and then through my consciousness, I send it. They receive it in real time, 100% of the signal. 100%. If you take a supplement, you receive 1% of the signal. Bruce Lipton explains that very well. The other 99% of the signal is lost as the body metabolizes the supplement or the medicine. When they deal with an energy person like me, they receive 100% of the signal. That's why I'm able to change things in real time.
Wow. Wow. And, one of the interesting things, because you talk about, heart math, which I know is a meditation program
That's a
type of
brilliant,
thing.
real simple.
So how important, as you're working with people or as you're talking to, people now, how important is meditation? And based on your experience, is there a type of meditation that has greater value for the healing process than other meditations?
Yeah, absolute. Very good question. Meditation's awesome, but meditation's also can be 10 miles of bad road. You have to, if you're going to learn meditation, you need to study under a real master who has an actual level of consciousness. Like if you wanted to study under Eckhart Tolle is fully permanently enlightened. So he's the real deal. Or you find a lama, or you find a Zen monk or something. But most people, they don't have a clue what meditation is. Your subconscious mind is triggered by the environment, and it's one set. So if, let's say, you do Vipassana is awesome, but it's a consciousness model meditation. So you do your nice Vipassana, maybe you have a nice quiet room, or you go to a 2-week retreat, and environmental triggers are limited down. You're in an austere environment so the mind can become quiet. And then as soon as you leave and open up the door and you're back in the world, the re-entry will just trigger all you can get is, for most people, is a superficial level.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you use energy meditation, like heart math, that's a completely different ballgame. You will get sustained results. You do not need a master to study under, and you will absolutely work. To give you an idea with some stats on heart math, which is like the amount of research, you just go to the Heart Math Institute. It'll keep you busy with their research library for the next few years. Here's what happens with just 5 minutes of an energy meditation. The brain in the cranium in your head will entrain exactly to your heart rate variability rhythm. Cortisol will drop 45%. DHEA will rise 45%. Secretory IgA measured in the mouth can rise as high as 294%. Sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems will entrain, and the kicker is it will be a sustained state for 4 to 6 hours. For 5 minutes of focused meditation in your heart, breathing, generating feelings, which are the frequencies of love or gratitude. Now that's just 5 minutes, and that is a recorded. Heart math has got something like 30 years history. So energy meditations, I told you I sealed my back in 12 weeks. How did I do that? I did an energy visualizing meditation based on Jose Silva's method. So I was ambulatory cripple, so I had lots of time, and I would meditate 4 hours a day, because everybody said I was finished, my career was finished, They wanted to fuse my back, and I no way. So what I did was I programmed my subconscious mind, visualizing my body in perfect shape, like I used to be. And if you can program an image in the subconscious, and I said if you have the intensity and the consistency, and you actually do it, the subconscious mind will change your body. It will heal you. Doesn't matter what it is.
So
Period.
when you talk about heart math, and so I'm going to get a little detailed here, and if it doesn't
Okay.
matter, tell me right off the bat. So we talked a little bit about solfeggio frequencies, who's identified, I think, at least 9, maybe a few more. You talk about binaural type of frequencies. What are those energy frequencies, and do you identify a specific one for a specific problem, or is it one where they run all of the frequencies in a meditation and hopefully one's going to fit, or how do you do that? And what is it that they're using?
I never use those systems. I tried to use Tesla's system, and I bought the equipment, and then I abandoned it very quickly. What you're talking about, and I seen it on YouTube, and they can get their and that's beautiful stuff. And basically they've identified a frequency that creates a specific coherent harmonic effect on either physiology or your mind. That's very different from me. What I'm doing is surgically using frequencies relative to the specific problem or question of my client. So I'm like a surgeon doing an operation to solve specific targets.
Okay, and once you do that, so for instance, you're helping me with my knees. All right, I got bummer knees.
Yeah.
So once we go through that process, then do you encourage me to start doing meditation, and does that help to continue the process, or how does that all work?
You can. And a long time ago, I used to do that a lot. So I'll follow up because the idea is actually quite good. So you handle the knees, and you find out what the problem is. What is it there? What is your body and your knees trying to tell you about your life? That's why it's there. So we find that, we remove that, and then let's say on an arbitrary scale of 0 to 10, 10 represents your knees in perfect health. I'll rate where is the right knee at, where is the left knee at. I make sure that all causes for why it's subpar are gone. And then I will ramp your knees up to be 10s. And when I do that, I change the energetic state of your knees. It'll take about 3 days for the physiology to catch up to the new energetic state. I proved that to my wife with flowers. What I did was I gave my wife Roy a beautiful long stem, freshly cut big rose. We were at an event. It was a beautiful rose, so she loved that rose. She put it in a little bottle of water, and we had to go to lunch. So Thailand's hot. She has a black car, and she rolls the windows up, and it's a black interior. So when we came back from lunch, that rose was completely annihilated, just done and wilted over. So we drove home, and she took the rose out of her car. She puts it on the picnic table. She went off to do whatever she's doing. It's about 6 p.m. So I just picked up the little bottle, and I infused the water with some restorative frequencies. And I set it back down on the table. And so that was about 6 p.m. And we wake up. I always get up at 4, but Oi sleeps in. And when we woke up the next day, the rose was fully restored perfectly. stem was completely straight and it remained perfect for 5 days. So what's happening? The molecular structure needs time to come up to the new state. Did I make sense? Do you understand me?
Well, it does, and I totally get it. You know what comes to my mind, and you know we're going to run out of time, so I think we could do maybe 2 to 3 of these because I have got so many questions for you. But the one thing that's hitting me that I don't think we really understand, and obviously you have a real good idea of this in concept, is that most of the physical issues that we experience, most of the emotional issues that we experience, most of our life experiences that we experience, if I'm understanding you correctly, they really go back to something internal, some limiting belief, some cognitive dissonance that is literally causing that. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow.
That's exactly. And you know, the body talks to you in symbolism. So if it's from the center line, mid-sagittal line to the right, think of the future from today to the going forward. If it's the left side, the past. That's one way to understand. And then when something has developed, like let's say they have a fear of failure. So I want to know what the first 3 original downloads are. I got to find out where they are because I want to remove the subconscious pillars that are supporting the fear of failure now. Once I remove all of the fundamental downloads and how they built over time, there's nothing for the fear of failure now to stand on. Then I go into their consciousness at the present moment and I say, is there any active program, belief, or imprint that is either creating or sustaining fear of failure now? If there is, I disintegrate it. I have to disassemble it and all of its entanglements, and then I finally remove it. And then game over as far as relative to that question or to that problem. Not fear of failure in everything, but fear of failure relative to
that is your. So how long do you spend with someone, and how many times do you get together with them in order to do this?
This is process oriented because nothing in the universe is an event. Everything is dependently arising, dependently ceasing. Everything. So what I did was, for clarity, I have like a 2-hour session. That's when they have several issues they want me to clear at one time, like say their relationships, their wealth, and their health. So in 2 hours, I go after it all. And then I do a 1-hour session. I have one following you today. And what I ask them to do is come to me with an acute, clear target, a specific, and I'll knock it out in the 1 hour. Now, how often? Some cases are very complicated. I was a complicated case. I had 27 years of highly emotional lack consciousness. In fact, I even had almost a dislike and a perception of dirtiness to money. Mm-hmm. So I, of course, never could get money. So it took a long time to remove all that cognitive dissonance. Now, of course, it's gone, but it took a long time. So it depends on the person and on the complexity of the case. But my advice is always try to see me, because life is a process, say once a month. And okay. Because you keep yourself in flow and you keep the debris out of your way, because I remove the interference. And then as far as the future goes, we can't control or predict the future. What we can do is talk in terms of probabilities. And I can say they want to say things are changing, they need to move. So all they have to do is tell me the different places where they want to move, and I can give them accurate information on how will they be happy there, how happy, will they be successful there, how successful, things like that. But I did want to address that one question I didn't answer. After sessions or clearing, heart math is one of the best follow-up meditations because it's the king of epigenetics. See, once you go ahead.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm going to stop you. We're running out of time. My manager's going to say you can't go any longer. All right. So as we close, and I'd like to have you back on the show again because, like I say, I think
I would love that.
We got a lot to talk about here. But with this particular thing, what would be a short message that you'd like to leave with the audience that might create a motivation for them and an understanding?
Just know that the way your life is playing out, whatever it is, good, bad, confused, trouble, whatever it is, it's in the subconscious. And the good news is that can be changed. None of that is in stone. None of that. Let's say a lot of people suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome. Post-traumatic stress syndrome is very easy to remove. And you don't need medication. All those kinds of things can be changed. Finances can be changed. It's the way the subconscious is working, and because it's subconscious, generally you can't see it. So one way to see your subconscious mind is look at your surround, your friends, your home, all that you see, that's your subconscious producing and reflecting back to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You can change it. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's great. So how do people find you real quick?
Oh, just go to my website, depthhealing.org. Depthhealing.org.
Okay, so that's depth, DEPTH, healing.org.
That's right. And everything is there, folks.
All right, Dr. G, thanks so much. I look forward to chatting with you after this interview, but also just look forward to having you back on the show. So I really appreciate it.
I'd be honored.
And folks, thanks for listening. This is incredible what you've heard today, and you've just kind of gotten a little glimpse. So please, if you're having some issues, go to his website and really take a look at how that might be able to help you. So this is Dr. Doug saying have a wonderful week. Namaste.